So do bad. Welcome to Bad Boy Running. We like to get guests from around the world, and I'd heard of Christian a few times before, but when I then reread about his unbelievable challenge of running the most elevation in 24 hours as a team by running up and down Table Mountain, I thought we've got to get him on. So welcome to the podcast, the wonderful Christiaan Greyling. Hooray! How are you doing, Christian?
Thank you, David. Thank you for having us.
So, oh, my absolute pleasure. I guess we probably should explain the background, your lack of background, shall we say, physically in the video. So,
Yeah.
Tell us what's happening at the moment.
Yeah. So currently we are in hour 40 of a power outage, and I've got my last battery lights and my headlamp shining on my face so that you can at least see me. And but yeah, power outages are quite common in South Africa. We have a term called load shedding. Most people in first world countries don't know what it's all about, but we actually share power. So currently we're scheduled for stage 6 load shedding, which is one of the worst we've experienced in 3 years. And that means that we'll be off for 6 hours at a time. And but this is an abnormal outage that we have on a farm line. So someone was cutting trees illegally and they messed up the power line. So
and with
my internet
that load sharing, does that mean that there's, say, for example, another area that would get wouldn't have energy for a different 6 hours? Does it rotate round, or
correct? Yes.
Is everyone off across the country?
Yes. So I can juggle it quite nicely between my office and my home. We are on different schedules. So
I see.
If I drive around, I can have power.
So do people, is that something that people consider then in their work-life balance, is almost having an office that's far away enough that they never have to have the issue of running out of power? Or do people have second homes potentially if they've got enough money? Or
No, not really. Most people just deal with it and they use it as an excuse if they can't attend meetings or something like that. We've been quite proactive in running our business AlphaSfit and coaching athletes. So we've put my Wi-Fi at least on solar, so we can keep on working at home, and at office also we have solar. So we've got quite good backup. But most people are moving to solar now. That is the only solution, I think. We are underpowered in South Africa, and there's a lack of maintenance in infrastructure. So hopefully we don't get a full blackout. So load shedding is actually to protect the grid from going into a full blackout.
Yeah, of course. And do you think, do you find that there is a lot more innovation in things like solar and alternative powering of homes in South Africa because of that, do you think? Or
yeah, I think the business is booming in the solar industry. I think the technology is all imported, and we rely on imports to sustain it. But I think it's good in the one way that we are forced to be more sustainable than what we would have been.
Yeah. Interesting. I just had no idea about, because I even having visited South Africa before, it hadn't come up in conversation, bizarrely. But well, let's go back. When did you first start kind of falling in love with running and trail then?
Well, actually, I first fell in love with a girl, and then I realized she was a runner. And because she had a boyfriend, I had to get away to spend time with her. And when I asked her for her first coffee date, she told me, no, but you can go for a run. And
was her boyfriend a runner at the time?
No, not at all. So she was quite keen to have a running partner. I was more into adventure racing. And adventure racing, you carry a backpack of 12 kgs or 7 kgs. And then you don't run as much. It's more of a hike. So I converted her into adventure racing. And we raced professionally or quite competitively for another 4 years. And then we just realized that adventure racing is taking so much time and travel a lot. And we actually declined the World Champs invite to Tasmania and decided to rather get married, because it was the same cost to get married and to attend the World Champs.
Wow. Oh, I didn't realize it ended in marriage. What? And how long did just rewinding back, because I love a good bit of gossip. So, was there a point at which your wife's ex-boyfriend realized you were trying to woo her with your running? And like, how long did it take to kind of transition your way into that relationship?
Yeah, it was about a month of running, and I created a group which never existed. And I invited a couple of friends who were later my best men at my wedding. And they all pretended to be runners. So every morning at 5 a.m., we went out running. And yeah, it didn't last that long because excuses started kicking in. And then I was the only one left with this running group and this girl. And Landy, my wife, my now wife, she was just into the idea of training together with a group. So I invited her for an adventure race, and by hook or by crook, we won the race. And she had to pull me on my mountain bike because my bike broke, and it was just against all odds. So we had to stay in for the prize giving. That was after a month of training together, being in a training group. And so we arrived quite late back home that night. And that was, needless to say, the last evening that she had a boyfriend. The relationship split up after that. Yeah.
That's incredible. And were you naturally fit then? Were you naturally sporty, or because to win it in a month and to suddenly pretend that you're a runner?
No, so I was an adventurer for quite a couple of years. Since 2008, I first represented South Africa in Abu Dhabi Adventure Challenge, but as a rookie, so I got a lucky entry, and then I took it quite seriously for on shorter races like 25k distance and that. So this was a short event, and because Landy was just generally so fit, whenever you had a good girl in your team, it was big bonus for an adventure racing team, because that's normally your weakest link. And Landy was just incredibly good runner and strong on a bike. So once I saw her, I just knew that she will be an excellent racing partner, but also a life partner.
And how long did it take you to admit? How long did it take you to admit to her that the whole group had been fabricated?
I think I only revealed it basically on the wedding night.
Brilliant! During the speech.
3 years later. But
wow. So is adventure racing really big then in South Africa? Because I'd say in the UK, it almost seemed as if the late 90s, early noughties, there was a lot of adventure racing. It would probably be on running more than hiking, but then also a bit of kayaking in there. And is that a similar story in South Africa?
Yeah, everything is based on navigation. So it will be a good mix between paddling, mountain biking, and running. And yeah, we actually hosting the World Champs this year, which is the first ever World Champs hosted in Africa. So that's quite exciting for the sport. And yeah, it's been ongoing. It's not as big in the Western Cape where we live, so it's quite big up in Gauteng. And there's the Expedition Africa event, which is a 500-kilometer expedition event that's taking place every year. And this year it was in Lesotho, one of my favorite places. We've spent a lot of time in Lesotho in the high mountains. So I mean, adventure racing is still one of my favorite sports. It's just it's not feasible now to do it with small kids. And in 2012, we actually decided to park our bikes and take up one sport, and that was running, which my wife Landy immediately excelled in, and I had to go through all the niggles and pains that any runner would experience, like all the injuries, and I had to really work my way up from like top 20s to podiums.
What type of injuries were you typically getting?
I had ITB in both legs. I had plantar fasciitis. I had shin splints. I had a labrum tear. So,
God. And what was, I mean, ITB, I think most people can resolve with a bit of Googling. Plantar fasciitis, shin splints, a bit tricky. How did you get rid of those?
Yeah, Planta was the most difficult of them all. I think with the knowledge I have now, yeah, I can treat ITB quite quickly, and with all my athletes as well. We are very proactive in treating those with good biokinetics. So I do rehab every week, and I've incorporated in our programs in Alpas Fit coaching as well, so that we have good bios that do online consulting. Planta, I tried everything I could Google, and the one thing that really worked for the symptoms was shockwave therapy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that was also like the 10th thing I tried. So for other people, it doesn't work, but I really think that made a big difference in the end.
And when was that, out of interest? Just because I've recently had an injury for 2.5 years, and it looks as if shockwave therapy may have been the thing that also helped me. It was basically an area that was healing. It would always get injured slightly when healing, and therefore never properly re-healed. And the shockwave then helped kind of heal that properly. Like, it's when did you do yours, and was it a similar strategy?
Yeah, I did about 10 sessions. So that's the only thing about shockwave. You have to keep doing it, and yeah, it was treating the area, and then you treat until you feel until the pain releases, and then you move on to the next spot. So yeah, that really worked for me. And some other things I've tried before was prolotherapy, PRP. I think that's also a very, very, very good approach. I don't like to cut, so even with my labrum tear, I totally rehabbed it with my biokineticist, and I'm able to run 100K races with not pain-free, but without being hindered by the pain. So I'm aware of it, but I can do it without any major operations, at least.
And are there certain stretches or strength exercises that you now do to try and ensure that you don't get plantar fasciitis back?
So I believe plantar originates in the calf. So when your calves are really tight, it will trigger either plantar fasciitis or Achilles. So I always advise people to take care of their calves. If you feel your calves are extremely tight, you need to treat it first, because that's mostly the precursor of a plantar. And in strength
Interesting.
exercises,
Okay.
yes, I do a lot of feet work. I do a lot of glute exercises, pelvic stability. Yeah, I spend hours on just doing that, keeping my pelvis in a neutral position. Pilates is also a good way of achieving that. But I like to customize my strength workouts, and that I do with my biokineticist.
So then when you say you decided to switch to running, partly for time, partly for focus, what does that look like in South Africa? Like, what we've spoken to Thabang in the past. We've done a few episodes about comrades and how you're almost cursed as a South African runner because that's what everyone expects you should be doing rather than anything else. Like, when you started to run, what were your objectives, and what races really appealed to you?
We almost started trail running with trail running in South Africa. So we are furniture if it comes to the running scene. One of the first races that, because of bench racing, there was one race every few weeks. So in between, you would do anything else to keep on moving and training. And I remember one of the first trail runs, I invited Landy also to join, and I had an upper hand because as I came out of or into the trail park, there was a car in the wrong side of the road against the traffic, and I didn't know a car, but I was like trying to stop this person because there was a kind of a there's two lanes, but it seems like you're on on the right road, but it's actually against oncoming traffic, and I was trying to stop this vehicle, and when we parked at the trail park, I realized, oh, it's Lundy, and she got out of the car, and that also gave me quite a point in the bank to start a conversation. And that was our first trail, and I remember Landy was like just behind me. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see this girl is chasing me, and it was only a 12K trail race, but to me, to us, it felt like, wow, that's a long race. And yeah, there weren't a lot of races. There's actually a number of ultra races like the Skyrun 100K. That's like a group of people. Like one guy will challenge his mates, and then he will run from Lady Grey to Tiffindale over the mountains and survive. And then the next year he would invite a friend, and that's how some events started. So a race like Skyrun is 25 years old, and now it attracts like 800 people in a very rural part in South Africa, and people take part of it. But yeah, the races were few and far between, especially up in Gauteng where we used to live. Only then we made a decision to move down to Western Cape after a short stint in the States. So we really started running in the States and experienced amazing trails. And yeah, from then it was never turning back, because trail running just took us places and in a short period of time. So now we spoiled for probably I would say the best races in the world. We're hosting the UTCT 100K, which now also have a 100 miler. The Otter Greyling Trail, which is the Golden Trail Series 2018 final.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Also Trail Drakensberg, which is an amazing event. The Maxi Race, which bring people to the heart of the winelands. Yeah, there's just to name a few. There's the beautiful whale trail on the coastline of where you can watch whales while you run.
And do you get a sense like with these races, because I'm always fascinated by what creates a trail community, like what, and South Africa has been at times notoriously isolated from the rest of the world. Did you think the trail running, these races, how many of them do you think were inspired by people traveling elsewhere and thinking, I want to create that at home? And how many of them were just more someone thought, I like to run on trail, I'm going to start doing this thing, and almost grew it independently of external influences?
Yeah, I know most of the race organizers, and you're right. A lot of them traveled. Nick Borman used to live in Hong Kong, and he wanted to create something similar, and that's how UTCT was born. The Collins brothers from the Otter used to race internationally in adventure races, and they wanted to bring something like this to South Africa, and that's why it meets up with world standards. We've done a lot of races across the world, and our races are really something special, and we probably don't have that support yet, like a Zagama, but I think it will come.
That Zagama's been going for, well, so many years now, over 25, and it's partly because it's almost seen as it's adopted by the whole region, as opposed to just being loved by local runners. It's loved by local people, and I'd imagine, particularly given the outpouring of love towards comrades, that there's certainly the readiness to adopt more races. So then, when did you kind of start finding success at longer races then?
Yeah, I think it was really after Lundy started traveling abroad, and she raced for Solomon International, and I really like fell in love with her lifestyle, but I wasn't able to do it, and I knew at some point I'll have to start training harder, and I'll have also make a decision to quit my job at some point. So in 2015, I won the UTCT 100K 3 weeks after we completed a Transalpine run in Europe. So again, to race in a team is almost like a bit easier for myself as a male, but Transalps was really one of my toughest races ever. Landik were really strong in the last 3 days, and she really pulled me across the line. And probably I had been training way less than she used to run, but we came second, and that was an aspiring run. And yeah, I think after that, that was one of my first experiences on the international scene, and I decided that's where I want to race, and I want to compete and be competitive on the international scene. And yeah, so I focused every year on one race. In 2016, I won the Skyrun 100K. in 2017, I won the Otter Trail. And then in 2018, I spent a lot of time overseas, did a lot of races. And in Azores, we raced in Spain. We raced in Mont Blanc, the 90K Mont Blanc, the marathon race. I did it twice. Ultra Pyrenees, 114K. And we traveled from. So in 2017, actually, I decided to quit my job. So that was quite a big step of faith. I didn't have any financial sponsors, or not significant financial sponsors at that time. And and that
do you think did you train a lot together, and do you think training with your partner is always a good idea, and how did you find racing together as well?
Yeah, we did all our training together, each and every training run, and it helped me quite a lot because Landy is very diligent, and also the things that I never attended to, like the stretching and yoga, and he was quite diligent with that. We would go to a park in Barcelona or wherever we stayed for that time, and do our abs and routines and all of that. And yeah, racing together is quite special. It's tough, but I think we only had great successes. In trail running, adventure racing is a bit different because I was the navigator, and whenever I make a mistake, I could never hear the end of it because Landy is very competitive. So whenever I caused as a second place, that was not such a fun experience to deal with. But yeah, trail running it's been such a special time to race together in Transalps, and many stage races we've done in South Africa as well. And we really want to go back to Transalps. That is just unmatched, that experience.
And what's so good about it?
So you spend 8 days of running through epic places and meet people from across the world. And it's not like you always go to an event and you're on this high and you go back home and it's like, I wish I could stay longer. But yeah, you really eat and experience everything of this race. And we met people there, Ragnar and Pere, which we're still friends with them today. They are quite strong runners. Lately, I know Ragnar's been world champion before, and they are doing cool things. They travel to South Africa as well on their world tour.
And you say you eat lots of local food. So is the food put on by the organizer rather than you having to be self-supportive?
Unfortunately, yes, and that's where we made a big mistake. We ate a lot of pasta. Every night was a pasta party, so we were not used to that kind of diet, and it affected our stomach quite badly in the first 3 days. And we were at a point where Landy wanted to pull out on day 3, and miraculously we just finished the day, and it was all tears, and we were in a bad position. And then we realized, okay, now we need to source our own food, regardless if we have to go to supermarkets and pay for food, but we need healthy stuff. We need beetroot, we need broccoli. And I remember we cooking it in kettles and eating beetroot on the sidewalks in front of the supermarket, and just go to the pasta party and eat whatever will not be affecting our digestion. And then luckily we bumped into South Africans there, and they invited us for a good meal that night. And yeah, we're still friends to this day. And we happened to the tables turned for us, and like we won the last 2 stages, regardless of me having altitude sickness, and I couldn't take in anything on the run. Landy was really strong, and yeah, we were up against Sperre and Ragnar, and that was quite a tough competition. They are excellent runners.
And do you think being a couple who run together or who race together, does that present certain challenges or certain problems that other pairings might not necessarily have?
Having children is quite difficult now, because now the running becomes a juggle. So if you go, I can't, unless we take both kids in running prams. But yeah, so it becomes quite a difficult thing now. And oftentimes I would, when Landy was pregnant and recovering from pregnancy, I would focus a lot on running and do crazy stuff like the Platteklip challenge up Table Mountain, where we broke the Guinness World Record. And I would give all my attention on running. And then I know whenever she's back, I'll step backwards and then give her the opportunity. And she's really now in the best shape I've ever seen her. And I'm also now stepping back into racing season. And my big goal is in 14 weeks from now. So it will be a tough 3-4 months coming up. Lundy's training towards CCC 100K, and I've got my goal set on running my fastest otter time. So now it's kind of a blur. we have a schedule, and if you don't keep to it, if you sleep in, you miss your run.
Well,
you get a nappies.
Well, before we talk about the otter tail, tell us about the world record attempt then, because I mean, Table Mountain is known as a pretty tough trail anyway. Got good elevation there, but explain exactly what that was.
Yeah, so it was hard lockdown in South Africa. All the events were cancelled, and myself and AJ Carlett, a good friend of mine, also sponsored by K-Way, so we're teammates. We sat down together, and AJ said, "I've got an idea." I said, "Yeah, what's your idea?" It's like, I think we can break the world record, the Guinness World Record for the most vertical distance in 24 hours. He said, "There's only one problem. We don't have 24 hours because of our curfew." So in South Africa, we had during COVID, we had a curfew.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
Yeah, so we actually had from 4 a.m. until 12 p.m. that we were allowed to be outside.
And what was the logic of that? 12 a.m. to 4. Oh, so the whole of the night, so you were 8 hours short.
Yeah, so we're 4 hours short. Yeah, so there's no logic in it. Which to this day we still can't explain it. But a lot of people were jailed who broke the rules. So we decided, okay, we'll give it some time and hopefully the curfew is lifted. But it wasn't. So AJ applied for the Guinness World Record. So once you apply, you have 3 months to complete it. And we, when the 3 months almost run out, literally, we had the 11th of May, it would run out. That was a Tuesday. I phoned AJ and it's like, AJ, I don't think they're going to lift this ban on or this curfew. And I think we should give it a go. I knew we both needed something to do, and there were no races. And I also knew I was running out of time because my second child was born. She was 3 months, and sooner Lundy will be getting back into running, and I'm in a good place with my running at that time. And AJ is like, okay, I'm away for the weekend, but what are you doing on Monday? I say, no, I'll shift a few things around. Let's meet. I'll meet you Monday morning at the start of Table Mountain. So a bit more logistics, and a friend sponsored us a night in a hotel quite close to Table Mountain.
And how high is Table Mountain? Because Cape Town is on the sea. So what's the elevation at the top?
Yeah, so the elevation at the top is 1,100 meters, but the start of the trail where we started, where there's no more toll roads, is at about 200 and something. So it's 692 meters to be exact, because that's measured by a land surveyor. So the ascent we did is 692 meters from the bottom to the top. And we decided to do it on Table Mountain, although it's not the easiest mountain, but it's an iconic mountain, and it's somewhere where we will always remember that. I mean, that's something where people relate to if you set up a Guinness World Record, than to do it in an easier mountain and that's not full of steps. So this whole route is steps, rock steps that's been built, and it's the most touristy route. Yeah, so it's a scenic route, and most tourists go up Table Mountain on the Platteklip route. Platteklip Gorge route, and because we choose a Monday, there was actually less tourists, which was good. And yeah,
and why did you choose the steps? Because surely that would be more impact on your legs on a descent.
Exactly. So That was just AJ also had a lot of experience. He's done a charity event before, and he also set a solo record for the most elevation gain in 12 hours on Table Mountain. So we kind of had a benchmark, and we did a few calculations, and we knew that when we go in, we have to break this record in 20 hours because we only have 20 hours. And it was,
Oh, sorry, I think I misheard then. So you can start at 4 a.m. and you finish at midnight. Is that right?
correct, yes.
Gotcha. I thought it was, yeah, gotcha. That makes sense now. And what are the rules on that as well? Like, do you have to run down as well, or is there a way?
Yes.
Okay.
So this in this specific record is a vertical distance. So it's a cumulative vertical distance up and down, and that makes it a lot harder because the downhill really sits in your legs, and especially running downstairs, really just go and sits in those VMO and quads, and it's all pain from like lap 5, 6. It's just a pain cave.
And what distance is it from the bottom to the top in terms of miles covered, rather than just the elevation?
2.3 kilometers roughly. So that'd be about 1.7 miles and 692 meters. So it's quite a steep ascent. We did less than 70 kilometers, so less than 70. I'm trying to convert back to miles now. I can do the other way
about
around,
45 miles, about, isn't it? Yeah.
45 miles, yeah.
And would you like, had you trained specifically then, doing lots and lots of stairs and elevation after elevation?
AJ did. I would have liked to do a lot more stairs, but out where I live, I have a lot of mountains in Stellenbosch, but not really stairs. So I spend a lot of time going up Simonsberg. It's the beautiful mountain on my back door. It's 1,300 meters elevation in 5Ks. So yeah, but we didn't really think it's gonna happen until that last weekend where I said, like, we've got 2 days left. Are we going to do it? Yes or no? And then we make it happen. And yeah, we started off that morning, and it's quite amazing and actually inspiring when you choose a big challenge like that. You depend a lot on people to support. And one of the people who supported us was Pierre, the gear guy, Pierre with the gear also from Kway. And he was literally there from the morning 5 a.m. until 4 a.m. Oh, he came like 5 a.m. He said to drive from home until that night at 12 p.m. And never missed a beat to support us whenever we came down, whenever we wanted to change socks or get food. And we actually had people at the bottom and the top to verify that we actually did it. And the shifts need to change. So there's a lot of people involved to support us in this journey, and then you realize once you started it, all these people came out, and they actually had to take leave that day to be there and see us, witness us doing this record. So we just got to make them proud and push through. And it was quite a big effort for 20 hours. I think the record can easily be broken in 24 hours. But it was quite a big effort for 20 hours.
And did you have a kind of even intensity strategy for the up and the down, or given the impact on the down versus the up, but then the speed on the down versus the up, were you pushing on one more than the other?
We tried to, we were on quite a tight schedule, so we knew we had about, I think it was hour 25 that we intended for up and downs. It was about 45 to 53 minutes up, and then the downhill was 30 minutes roughly. But yeah, the longer you go up, the first lap you think, oh, this is so possible. It's so easy. We're gonna break this record. And then at lap 6, I started cramping, and then you can't see yourself going up another lap. And lap 8, AJ had quite a bad spot, and he wasn't talking, he wasn't saying anything, and it looked like, is this really possible? Like, are we going to make it? And then we started chasing the cutoff. We knew we had to be down by 12 p.m. And I mean, we could have risked it to carry on, but it was, in the end, actually, Pierre got pulled over by police because he was driving home after curfew. So it was quite serious those days. Like, he got away by just saying his car broke down, but yeah, we made it, and in 19 hours and 15 minutes or 46 minutes, and yeah, the goal was to break the record, and that we did, and we were happy to this day that we went out and try it.
So what elevation did you end up with then? And how, you've mentioned just under 70k, and you climbed, I'm trying to remember what you said before.
692 meters times 14, so it was 19,386 meters vertical distance. So it's
like a double Everest
correct.
In a day.
Yeah, up Everest, up and down, and a bit more.
Yeah, okay. And does it really help do you think either of you would have managed that by yourselves?
AJ did similar things in the past, but not this long. So I really think it helped to be in a team. Surprisingly, we were, I think, very supportive, and he's always very humble. So he always says, "No, I pushed him and helped him a lot." But I think he helped me a lot. So I think we both did better than what we would have been able to achieve on our own. Yeah.
And do you have any tips? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to show you some pics.
Also,
now.
do you have any tips for any people who are trying to do events as a team? Whether do you set rules in advance, or are there's some kind of rules that are useful to kind of abide by? Or
yeah, I think it's very advisable to set rules in advance. Like, what is your goal? That's the first thing you need to establish, because you see a lot of people racing in a team, and the one guy's running up ahead and the other one is falling behind, and the next day that team is as good as the second guy's speed. So it always keep towards your weakest link and support your weakest link, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. Train together, know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and look after one another in terms of nutrition. So we made a big effort of making sure that we get hydration in. And the one way we did it, and I learned so much in this run, because it was the first time it's really controlled. We had 14 laps where each time you at the top, there's one stream on the way up and up and down. So we had a cup. We keep a cup there, and we would fill it up with water, and we both made sure that we each drink a cup of water, because that was just a habit that enforced us to drink half a liter of water on each lap. And then when you get to the bottom, you fill up another half a liter and take it to the top. So we had at least 1 liter of fluid on every lap. In the end, I used about more than 20 liters of fluid, just water and carb drink.
So you have electrolytes as well, did you?
Yeah. So once we get to the bottom, we set up a whole aid station, and some guys later brought us a coffee stand, and they gave us coffee, and people brought soup and pizzas eventually, and yeah, we chowed so much. The amount of calories you burn, that's just ridiculous. I've never done something in my life before. Like, we never stopped for a moment. Only at the bottom you stop for maximum 5 minutes, and then you had to go again because the clock's ticking.
What food were you eating during that time?
Everything, but what worked really well was smoothies. My wife brought me a smoothie from home, and brought the babies, and yeah, those things were really it went well quite easily, because it's easy to digest, and it cools you down, so it was quite hot during the day.
Like fruit
And
smoothies or ice smoothies or vegetable smoothies or
yes, so my smoothies normally contain Biogen protein powder. That's our nutrition sponsor, with some nut butters, and some almond milk, and a, a bit of coconut yogurt or lactose-free products. That's really works for my body. Lactose sometimes mess it up a bit. So, but yeah, the protein is very important. If you do any ultra race or any run longer
Mm.
than 6 to 8 hours, and it's hard to get it in. So I find smoothies works well to get it down.
And what were your legs like the next day? How were the DOMs?
So it's quite funny. The next day I was on a plane on a flight to Johannesburg for a shoot with Adidas T-Rex, and everyone was like, can you walk? Can you even walk after what you did? And my legs were absolutely fine the next day, but 2 days later and the rest of the week I couldn't move. So that I always found that the harder your effort, the more delays there in your pain. Like your body takes
Yeah,
time
okay, interesting.
to like realize what it went through, and but yeah, that was quite sore.
And how long did it take for you to actually feel you were back training properly?
There was almost kind of there were no races really. So I'll have to go and look at my Strava, but I took a full month off, yeah. Off, and when you start taking off running, you I don't know, it's difficult to get back to it. So I
Mm.
planned on taking 3 weeks off, and I think I ended up taking 5 weeks off. So
And do you think if you were to take on that record again, you'd want a longer hill or a shorter hill, or was that a good distance for a lap?
I think it was an excellent distance for a lap, because it allows us to recover every let's say 90 minutes, with good food,
Mm.
good support from people, and hydration. So we carried a minimum with us, so that made it
Mm.
quite easier. I wouldn't take stairs again, um, but I would like to do Table Mountain again.
Mm. And did the local did the Cape Town news and people get behind it? Did it capture people's imagination?
Yeah, that was quite cool. More and more people came out, and more journalists came out, and um, because we did it so last minute, we didn't really uh, give people time to plan. So a lot of TV shows and radios got us on a week later, but
Mm.
everyone bought into the story, and we did it also for a charity, Edu Nova. So that was also a way to create hope in a in a difficult time in South Africa and in the world. So we raised awareness for Edu Nova, who equips people with technology kits in rural areas. So they basically give you a tablet with all the education you need on the tablet, and enable people to really get educated in a country where education is not priority.
Oh, amazing! And how much managed to raise for them?
There was more an awareness, so we never had
Yeah,
a financial campaign linked to it. But I think it was great. The reach we had was quite good on
yeah.
international media.
Yeah. And then the Otter Trail. So I now present and report for the Golden Trail. So I know of this from the finals the year before I came. It looked incredible. But is it well known? Is it a really big race in South Africa? Has it always been, or is it just my perception of that? Having seen it on the Golden Trail series.
No, it's always been one of uh, the prime races in South Africa, and everyone wants to do it Otter at least once. So it is quite an expensive race, but it fills up within minutes. If you if you don't like, and people on the waiting list for for months before they get an entry. So um,
What makes it so special?
the trail can only be run during the race. Otherwise, it's a hiking trail, and it covers a piece of coastland that's a national park. So it's one of the only national parks in a water park. So you're not allowed to fish in the waters next to the coastline, and that's one of the most abundant sea life experiences you can have. You never cross a jeep track or a road for 40 k's. You are completely submerged in nature.
And when you say people aren't allowed to run on it normally, so I wouldn't be allowed to run on a hiking trail as a general rule in South Africa.
No, only this trail, you book it out and you can hike it, or you can technically run it from hut to hut, but you're not allowed to run the full Otter Trail in one go, except for race day.
Wow. And is that to preserve the trail, I assume, or other reasons?
And to provide exclusivity to the hikers, because even if you go and hike it, it will probably be booked for 18 months in advance. So it's
Wow.
a very exclusive trail.
Yeah, okay. Amazing. Well, that does sound really good. And
Yeah, that you have to come and do it.
and I mean we've been out for comrades in the winter, in your winter, but we definitely want to come out in the summer and experience South Africa when the sun is shining and everyone's there and the tourist industry's back on its knees, back on its feet. I mean, and in terms of you've mentioned about Alpasfit, where you train people around the world. What you've found with your racing and your training to ultra endurance?
Sorry, just repeat the question of my racing.
Yeah. So what do you find are the kind of the big musts or tips or secrets to kind of ultra endurance that you found from your racing and also from your training with Alpasfit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've realized is a lot of people train in the incorrect zones. So we have a big focus on aerobic training and spending time in your aerobic zone, which is zone 1, 2 running. And most people just go out and they run in zone 3. You get a lot of endorphins. You feel faster than your friends, and we believe in really building an aerobic base, and it takes months to years. But once you have it, your aerobic base becomes the speed zone that you can really race your friends in. And I really think that's the biggest thing that made a difference in my life. And I think adventure racing helped a lot to achieve that because of the years and years of cycling and hiking at a higher heart rate. That really built my aerobic base. And when I started converting into trail running, I already had a base.
So it's more slowing down on more of your runs to build the base before you then start putting in the more intense kind of long intervals, long tempos, things like that.
Correct. Yeah. So polarized training, that's a methodology we follow. 80% of your running, even if you can combine the two, so 80% of your running will be slow aerobic running and 20% will be high intensity speed intervals, a mix of short intervals, hill intervals. And then only later I would include the threshold sessions where you kind of push that lactate threshold and the tempo runs. That's where I lack in my training because it's quite a hard place to train, and I'm trying to focus a bit more on that because I've got the aerobic base covered.
And when you say it's a hard place to train, in what respects do you mean?
Well, you at 170 beats a minute and you can hardly speak. It's difficult to eat. So you need to
I
find
thought you meant where
different...
you lived, like the geographical place. I thought there was something unique to your region that meant you couldn't really do tempo runs. Okay. Oh, it's just hard to do. Yeah, I guess you. Yeah.
No,
and
and also it's hard to find a flat spot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the trouble with living in the mountains. It's great for some training, but crazy hard to do intervals. Sorry, crazy hard to do tempo runs. And what would you say your big aim now is to try and get as fast a time on the Otter run? Is that what you're saying? You were saying before?
Yeah, Yeah, that's really my focus. So every year I've done otters since I've done 9 otters, so this will be my 10th otter. And I always happen to get the prize podium spot still after I won it in 2017. 2018 obviously was the Golden Trail year. I managed a top 10. But otter seems to like me, and I like otter. It's just a type of run, and it suits certain runners. And I'm a bit stronger runner, but not as fast. So this really seems to work with my body type. And last year, my wife said, maybe you must just focus on otter for a bit and forget about the other 100K races you always focus on, and then otter is your second priority. So I made otter this year my first priority, and then after otter, I'll just jump into a 100K race and try and survive, or maybe a 100-miler.
And will you be over for the CCC as well? Will you be with the whole family travel for that?
No, unfortunately not. We've done some local travel with the family, and then after one trip with 2 toddlers, you are so exhausted, and I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on my wife. I want her to be able to focus on her race, so I'll be taking care of the kids back home, and then I would like to do an international event somewhere this year. I was thinking about Skyline in Scotland in September. But I haven't decided. But I can't wait to be on the line of an international event again.
And just as a kind of a sideways questions, have you ever seen the film With Nell and I, perchance?
Have I ever seen it?
The film With Nell and I.
No, I haven't. But I'm making a note.
You should watch it, just because I won't say who the actor in it that you resemble, but you do resemble quite strongly one of the actors at that stage of their career, and it's a wonderful film as well. So I'll let you see what you think of it and see if you do. You spot who I'm linking you to. But enjoy
Cool.
that, and let me know if you're deeply insulted or it's like looking in a mirror. So
Now, people have mistaken me for Christiaan Grey from 50 Shades of Grey because of my Instagram handle.
Oh, of course. Oh, so do you get a lot of followers then of people who are like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I want to follow this guy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe all my followers are true followers who really likes running.
Or maybe you just need to up the kink a little bit and give them what they're expecting.
Yeah. I need to
And
find something sustainable after.
and if people and if people you're interested about training with you, or to enter your race, which was, I'm trying to remember which one you mentioned. Maxi race South Africa. What's the best way? What are the handles? What's the best way for them to do those 3 different things?
So we have an Instagram handle, Trail Coach, or Alpasfit is the company name. So www.alpasfit.com. Alpas actually means, it's a Filipino word that means to break free from the old. So that's our methodology. We change people's lives through running, and they can either contact me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Christiaan Grey, Christiaan with a double A, and also I'm not as active on Facebook, but I have a Facebook page, Christiaan Greyling, and we share a lot of content about running and some running related tips on Trail Coach on Instagram. So give us a follow and reach out to us if you want to train with us. We have amazing people across the world, and you give us your goal and we will help you to achieve it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Good luck with another great performance in the Otter. And if you ever make it to London, let me know. You're more than welcome to crash at ours and get for a run as well.
Thanks, sir. It's lovely to talk to you, and I can't wait to listen to the podcast and all the others.
And good luck with the electricity, getting it back on. I hope it doesn't take another 40 hours.
Yeah, I think it's another day without coffee tomorrow morning, but I'm heading up to a summit nearby. We have beautiful winter days now, and looking forward to the summit run.
Amazing. Well, thanks again, and hopefully see you at some point in the flesh in the future.
Cool. Chat soon.
Cheers, Christiaan. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.